Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. What a panel. Thank you so much for taking time and doing this. Now, before I start, for years, the Indian consumption story has been looked at via three key lenses: more people, more money, more consumption. But something fundamentally is changing. Indian consumers are not just buying more, they're demanding more. They want better products, better service, better experiences, better homes, and better cities. And increasingly, they're willing to pay for them. But at the heart of this story lies a contradiction. India is definitely more aspirational, but remains intensely price conscious. We're becoming more premium, but affordability still matters. And while the metros are rapidly changing, some of the most fascinating consumption stories are coming far beyond them. So today, as I have four leaders on this stage, all of them look at the Indian consumer and this particular evolving consumer from a very different lens. So I'm going to kickstart this conversation with you, Puneet, because I have different ends of the spectrum here. But what exactly is the new Indian consumer aspiring to? And are Indian businesses managing to keep up with their demands and expectations?
Thank you. Can I answer that like 1 minute later? Because I think
Sure.
there's something very much more important that is changing. Even though Indian hotels represents Taj, but I think it's worth mentioning that Taj is possibly the only brand from India that is on the global stage. And it is going from strength to strength because it's also going where the Indian consumers are traveling. Um, London was always there, but as we open more and more uh, Taj properties across India and across the globe, there is a huge opportunity that we are witnessing like we have never witnessed before. This has happened also in the last 5 years. So that's coming back to your question. I don't think many people in the audience would know that in the last 5 years, at least in 4 years, Brand Finance has rated Taj as world's strongest hotel brand. It's been India's strongest brand, but world's strongest. The money is coming from the consumption that is happening in the country. So this is one sector. Now from Taj, I move to hospitality. If you look at the results announced by all publicly listed company, this is one sector which is posting results north of 15%. This is one sector where capex from private sources is possibly the highest that is being spent in building hotels in tier 2, tier 3 cities, new airports, you name it and you get it. Now comes the last part of the question, the price conscious. The price,
No. My question is not price conscious. My
the
question,
contradiction on the price
no,
conscious and the
I want you to focus on what is the single biggest change because you have the front row to actually looking at Indians traveling, spending, and experiencing, right? So, what is the single discernible change you've seen in the Indian consumer mindset in the last 5 years?
so there is an aspirational customer which likes to spend, which has gone beyond you only live once, but at the same time is very value driven. When it comes to spending in sectors like jewelry, which will increase in value, there is no problem. But when it comes to spending money on what is consumed and is gone tomorrow, there is a price consciousness. So that's why I said that's the third element of the statement that I wanted to make. That was always the case. And as India transitions and becomes richer and richer, and more people enter into middle class, high middle class, luxury, uh, that volume will increase and price sensitivity will decrease, but not in the short and medium term.
Fair enough. Santosh, let me take this to the other end of the spectrum since I have such a diverse panel. For a long time, luxury in India was about signaling, I have arrived, right? Is that still the luxury consumer today, or has luxury moved more towards self expression, personalization, and experience?
No, I think what we see clearly as a trend from I have arrived to for getting a social status to why should I buy the Mercedes Benz for my own self? I think rewarding oneself for what you have achieved personally, be it in business, private life, professional life, also rewarding the family for their support. I think these are things which was not seen. In the past, it was just a status purchase. I think the status purchase is not no longer as much as what we see. On the value side, it's more not price led, it's value led. And I keep saying to my colleagues back in Germany also, India is a land of paradoxes. So if you see, a lot of people will still travel economy, but when they land, they will step into a Mercedes-Benz or maybe go into one of Puneet's hotel chains and check in, because there are experiences that they don't want to do. Similarly, they may have the fanciest iPhones to buy, irrespective of the income criteria, but they will still check where it's cheaper to buy a big basket or a Swiggy, Instamart, or A and B, and then they will buy. So I think there are certain, wherever there is no differentiation when it comes to the product, and the experiences don't kick in, or trust doesn't kick in, or residual values in our case as Mercedes-Benz doesn't kick in, then it's a pure transactional purchase. But more and more, the consumer in India is changing to value-led purchases, and brands have to demonstrate that much more in the future, now as well as in the future.
But would you say, Santosh, that today the Indian consumer, especially your consumer, is more confident to spend on themselves? Is there that confidence coming that I want a Mercedes Benz, not that I want a Mercedes Benz so I can show off to my peers that I own a Mercedes Benz?
No, no, surely. I met someone, in fact, 2 days back. It was a lady who bought a car based out of Delhi. And it was just because she said, my family was, I had to buy this without telling my family. And the reason is, otherwise, I would have been told, no, it's too early. Oh, why should you buy? There are better asset classes and maybe later. But she said, I can afford. She's a young mother of 9-year-old, and husband is works for the army, in fact. And then she's a professional by herself. And she was quite candid to say, no, I'm fine, no issues, I will go and buy. And then she had positive reactions from the family later, and also somebody questioning why so soon. So I think we are still in that cusp of evolution. But a large number of young people, earlier used to buy a mass market car, premium luxury.
Yeah.
Today, they are not doing that. At the age of 38, they buy an S class. That's the first car. Because I've done my job, I've earned for, and I want to reward myself. This is a fundamental shift that you can see in the purchases. So it's not a step up purchase; it's directly coming in, and I have dreamt of it. I would then realize it as much as I can afford it. Tomorrow, that uncertainty, there is a generation which feels, because there's no social security, I should say more, that still remains a large part. But the newer India, you can see, is still very bold enough to take that risk and go and purchase cars.
Right, right. Now, Jayan, Amul gives us a fascinating counterpoint, right? Because if I put Mercedes and Amul on the same consumer map,
the cooperative movement started when it was told that the quality of milk in Bombay was worse than the gutter water of London. And from that, India has now emerged as the largest producer of milk in the world. 1/4 of the total milk in the world is produced in India. And in the next 10 years, 1/3 of the total milk in the world will be produced in India. And milk is the largest agricultural crop of India, and 8 to 10 crore families depend on milk for livelihood. And like Taj, Amul is also ranked as the strongest food brand in the world, and also number 1 and 2 as far as the strongest brands of India. And when Amul does a turnover of 1 lakh crore rupees, getting milk produced from 36 lakh farmer families and a volume of 350 lakh liters per day, it is still 25% of the organized sector of the country. There is a large number of Indians who are converting from loose to package and branded. And that 5% shift itself, you can add one Amul every year in India. So this is the opportunity we sense. And when the consumers aspires, we look at not just consumers who are buying my butter, my ghee, my packaged milk, my protein, but also look at that pyramid, bottom of the pyramid, who wants to consume a packaged branded product. And believe you me, selling protein to a customer is easier than asking a housewife to shift from loose milk, which her dudwala was giving, to a packaged branded milk. But that shift is happening now at a very rapid pace. And that gives us this opportunity and sense of confidence that we can speed up the shift of the consumer, and they would prefer a trusted brand. And that's where Amul comes in this story.
right? But any category CEO you speak to, the word premiumization is omnipresent, right? I want to challenge that for a minute, Jayan. From where you sit, where is premiumization genuinely happening is it only in very few areas, or is it just, the general narrative that one gives in the boardroom?
it, the shifts are happening.
Because all your
One cannot
consumers
deny
know
that.
the price of milk.
Correct. And that is the milk, as I was mentioning to Arulji, is the single largest item you consume. And the expense across categories is highest on dairy products for all households, across all regions, across all categories. People are getting more conscious. I'm talking now of the upper layer. People are more conscious of what we eat. And at Amul, we have taken this protein mission not to just sell protein as a product, but also to sensitize people that each one of us require 1 gram of protein per kg of body weight every day. And whatever form you consume, this will be good for you. So that is one sense of education leading to increase in the awareness of the customers and leading to a shift, which is typically a premium shift because protein has suddenly become expensive, but milk being a superfood comes as a core ingredient for us as far as the protein is concerned. So people, once they shift from a loose to a package brand, that is the first level of premiumization as far as the mindset of a customer is concerned. And then you move across a variety of products in each of the categories, be it ice creams, to staples like ghee and multiple types of ghee. Butter, of course, is the core product which everyone wants to consume. And more importantly, the varieties of other products that milk gives you. So mithai is a category which is gradually going up at a much better level as far as the premiumization of mindset is concerned. Paneer is another category which is shifting very, very rapidly. And the dairy product itself as a category comes and grows at a much faster rate. So the shifts are not gradual, they are happening at a very, very fast rate. And as if we are not able to sense that at the right time and create an infrastructure right from procurement of milk in the villages, using the latest technology to processing it and giving it to 1.4 billion people, and sooner or later Amul can become a dairy to the world because that's what India's opportunity offers. We'll need to tap into each of these things at a scale and at speed.
Right. Now, Arun, housing perhaps makes this aspiration versus affordability tension particularly visible, right? People want better homes, they want better communities, better lifestyles, but there is a very real affordable ceiling. How do you tap into aspiration, right, as a builder who does both mid-level and, premium luxury housing without making the product inaccessible to the very consumer who's aspiring for it?
Sure. I want to say the housing amongst the panel which is sitting here, is one which stays with the consumer for very, very long time. Cars are meant to be for about 6, 7, 8 years. I mean, a hotel stays for a night or a restaurant food is for the meal. And even Amul sir, for the matter, actually is out after the day. You have to go back and consume, buy again. In this case, the house is extremely emotional subject here because he is buying this for a very long time. Obviously, even today, a more savvy person who's working in a corporate might buy 3, 4, 5 houses in his life. But that's still about 10, 12 years more or less of usage. Given that affordability, yes, of course, is a very important aspect in housing space per se, but every strata of the segment has become very, very aspirational. So when we say aspirational, it doesn't necessarily talk about only the premium end of the spectrum. Whereas a person who's aspiring to buy a 40, 50 lakh home, which is so-called a mid-segment in most of the cities, his expectations have gone many folds because he's traveled, he's well exposed, his expectations are higher. He wants, the whole aspirational subject comes in through the fact that he wants a very reliable builder who deliver on time, a product which has a better planning, and the location wise it's far, far better. And obviously the amenities in the community is higher, the specifications which we offer, the maintainability of the product, because it's passed on for generations. Home is passed on for generations. So he's trying to create wealth here. It's far more serious. So to that extent, he's far more aspirational is what I believe. Yeah.
So have builders like yourselves and the Indian consumers who's a buyer, potential buyer, stopped looking at homes in terms of square feet? And are they looking at particularly buying a house in terms of a lifestyle?
Absolutely, absolutely. See, things have changed now. I mean, there was a time when home buying was about how much square foot I could afford, in which location I could afford, and it was somewhere seen kind of a commodity, like a two-bedroom and a three-bedroom by any builder is the same. Things have changed totally now. A builder today looks at truly giving a lifestyle, how we engage the community. What is the how? I mean, what kind of a sports facilities we give in a community? What kind of wellness facilities we give? What kind of children safety measures we have? And if you have elderly senior citizens, how comfortable, how friendly it is for them to socialize. I want to tell you something. In Casagrand, we go even beyond handing over the houses, because at a point housing was about handing over, but today we go on to maintain for 10 years. We give warranties for 7 8 years, and we run the communities for them. Actually, we do through the next about a decade. We run the community where we have an event company which runs, a lot of congregation events and the way people socialize. And we build homes which are predominantly 1,000 units to 5,000 units in a community. So we are building a village by itself. So it's a very different spectrum, and how they connect, how they live. All these things have transformed in totality.
Right. Now, Santosh, India's luxury market, and you've said that several times, has enormous potential, car market, but it remains relatively small. What is actually holding it back? Is it income, infrastructure, taxation, financing, or is the Indian consumer simply not ready to make luxury a large part of his or her consumption basket?
Wow, the easiest answer is a combination of all.
Hmm.
But let me try to say certain facts. First of all, from a desirability perspective, I would say there's a strong desirable, need to own a Mercedes-Benz and luxury products as such. The real fact is, we do more than 100 crores of merchandising in India. Just caps, t-shirts, some piece of Mercedes-Benz, which is just not bought by our customers, but by many for gifting and for just to have a piece of the three-pointed star at their room. So there is a lot of desirability for the brand that happens, that is still there. But when you look at sales volume, and I keep saying we should never measure with the number of units. It's also the revenue. So on revenue terms, if you see the average selling price used to be around 60 lakhs. Today, that's around a crore. Today, as Mercedes-Benz India, we do in excess of 15,000 crores in India in terms of revenue. If you look at our financial services arm, they have a 1.5 billion portfolio in terms of financing. So I think it's the business has grown leapfrogged actually. But from a volume perspective, we would have grown from 10 to 20,000 units a year in that region. So you have to slice it not just from volume, but also from the revenue lens. On the other side, it's also a fact that the per capita GDP was 1700 US to now 2700 in last 10 years. So, and that has a major impact. Whereas if you look at the prices of cars, so, when you take one of the largest selling mass market car, last 10 years, the prices have gone up by 25%. If you look at us, the prices have gone up by 50%. And the reason is exchange rate devaluation, for example, also a lot of technology and innovation which has come into these cars. So there, the affordability matrix of an average consumer to the price that has changed. So let's assume that if the prices had gone up as per the mass market, we could have easily doubled even on the volume terms significantly. So, and that's a matter of fact because and then the last one which was a bit of controversy about the spend pattern, right? It's a much more saving mindset, not just for yourself but for your kids, for the next generation. Also, there is not much of social security, so the tendency is to save a bit more than enjoy it today, which is changing. That's what the opening discussions were. That tendency is changing, but still a large number of people look at cars as depreciating asset, which in the financial terms, yes. But when you look at the experiential factor, that you are not just buying a car. And I can argue that the house is a aspired purchase, but I keep telling our consumers you can't take your house everywhere, right? You can take a car everywhere, and you can spend the time and from a quality time, in today's condition, average commute is 3 hours, and that 3 hours of quality time in a car, which helps you say you drives you safely and also gives you comfort. So this is still catching up, right? They are still they have the money and the wealth is there in many pockets. In luxury segment, it's 52-53% is tier 1, 30% is tier 2, and only 20% in tier 3. So the penetration of cars, so there is no one India. It's 1% on an average, but 2% in metros, 0.8 in tier 2, 0.4 in tier 3. So as India develops, per capita develops, aspirations change, we are damn sure that these percentages will change. And if you have to further give statistics, I'd say there is no one Mumbai. You know, Bombay penetration of cars, Mumbai penetration of cars is close to 3.5%, but South Bombay is already at 6-7, and the suburbs are at 2. So when you go, and thanks to today data from the government, you can actually slice it and check how this works. So there is no one India in that sense. And when you talk about the growth of luxury cars, I always say, as at least for us as Mercedes-Benz, it's not just about the volume, it's also about what structure, what do you have the customer with you, do you have the overall lifetime value, because we are not selling, we are selling digital extras, we are selling services beyond the car and the product. So this is for us much more critical than just absolute volume growth, I would say.
Puneet, you want to say, add something to that? Because I have
Yeah,
questions.
I think it's very logical. You don't have the roads in tier 3 today, but we'll have them tomorrow, day after, then the cars will go there too. So I think the infrastructure part will come. But I was feeling a bit depressed when they were talking because here, the two of us, we whatever is consumed is gone the next day. So it's a big issue, and still we have to keep selling and motivate ourselves. That, yes, we'll make it happen.
That's 24/7, 365-day demand generation.
65.
But Puneet, even the hotel model is changing, right? No more is a hotel only being looked at as a place to go and stay. It is becoming, restaurants, social places, cultural destinations, places to work and meet. Is the hotel of the future really a hotel? Or is it becoming part of the urban ecosystem?
It's a part of the urban ecosystem. That's how it has been. We always say hotel is your home away from home. And now we started saying it's a part of aspiration. From aspiration comes part of experience. From experience comes premiumization at all levels. I think the myth that we are living in doesn't matter clothing, jewelry, hotels, butter, milk, in every segment and in every positioning, low to high, a premiumization is happening because of aspiration and because of experiences that the customer is asking for, which you said at the outset. The customer has become very demanding. What does that mean? Customer has become demanding because they want more. Dil mange more, right?
And where do you see the next big consumption opportunity?
In terms of
If you look at from where that will happen, will it happen in the top 10 cities of India, or will it then come in
no,
the next twenty,
no.
30 cities?
Next 20, 30 cities and very different kinds of. I see a very big growth in integrated wellness. I think, as Mr. Mehta said, no, it's easier to. It's very difficult to get that mindset from the milk which is delivered at home to package, but it's easier to sell protein, right? Similarly, it's becoming easier and easier to sell integrated wellness concept, a different way of life, more conscious about living well. I think that is whether it's in a hotel or it's in a wellness concept or it's in a spa, but I do feel a lot of growth will come there.
Okay, so it's clear that the biggest shift is that Indians are aspiring for more, right? But if I had to ask you a specific question, and I'll come around the panel, but with you, Puneet, first, what is the one thing consumers today will simply refuse to tolerate that they did 5 years ago?
Poor quality, poor quality and lack of service. So whether it's servicing the community, which is also part of aspiration and premiumization when they build 1,000 units, or it's the car service because something is broken down, or is the quality of meal which was not good and we have to either refund the money or invite the customer back, or any such thing. I think the tolerance of poor quality which does not equate to the price, so price value relationship is become very, very strong.
Sure. Santosh, what is the one assumption about India's luxury consumer that you think will look completely outdated in 5 years?
I think the assumption that the growth will happen based on a tailwind, that we have of people just buying premium cars and trying or luxury cars. I think that's not the right assumption and basis. I think the customer experience will be the core if at all this journey has to continue. And here to add to what Puneet said, I think quality is yes, but time I think for luxury customer is becoming even bigger monetization opportunities, because I think that's something that they are ready to spend even much more. I have customers spending money 40 lakhs to airlift cars because they wanted it 2 months early. But on the other side, a lot of AI in car which helps them save. But I think this is going to be a much more valuable asset, so that how to make it hassle free, the purchasing process, after sales process, and also further give time back to the consumer. That will be valued more in the luxury space.
Arun, very quickly, what is the one thing we need to stop doing if we want to build better cities?
Better?
Cities.
We should stop expanding the existing cities. Actually, that's exactly what should happen because it's bursting out of the seams. Every city is extremely crowded. To drive through a distance of about 7 8 kilometers in Pune would take about an hour. And that's not the way to go. Obviously, we have to create satellite townships which connect the hub to the suburban pockets, and that's the way it has to be. And we have to build more newer cities, as in the semi-urban centers, which includes the likes of a Coimbatore or a Nasik or a Mysore, has to possibly have the necessary growth through business involvement so that the infrastructure develops. Otherwise, to bring in the whole country into the key urban pockets is going to really become cumbersome. So the best way to build the cities is not to build the existing cities and move to the other cities and build more satellite cities outside of the outside of the main cities. Yeah.
Right. Last word to you, Jayan. What is the one consumer behavior that will define the next decade of mass consumption?
I, since I'm speaking last, gives a chance to give 4 T's.
Okay.
In food, because they say time's up. Thank you. So, in food, taste remains paramount. It's not going to change. He mentioned quality that comes from the second T, which is trust. Consumers want to save time, which you rightly mentioned, so convenience will also be there. And fourth thing, which for all companies catering to such a large country, is availability. So these 4 T's will continue to drive what tomorrow's customer a decade later or maybe several decades later. And one thing is for sure, AI is not going to take away our jobs. Thank you.
Well, on that note, thank you so much, gentlemen. The next phase of India's growth engine may not be particularly about getting people to consume more, but about understanding what Indians believe they deserve better. And thank you, gentlemen, for articulating this panel discussion so well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.